We still don't have an intro, so hello.
Hello is an intro.
Hello is an intro, you're right.
How else? There's no better
It's
way
a
to introduce
greeting.
yourself.
It's not really an intro. I would say it's a greeting.
Well, you're introducing yourself.
That's
Doesn't
true.
that make it an introduction?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, welcome to the Softbrains.
My name is Clarke.
And I'm Justin, and we're recording a little bit earlier this week. We tossed around the idea of possibly doing more than one a week, but we'll see how it goes.
Is it earlier though? Because didn't we record the last one last Thursday?
Maybe it is. Guess we'll find out.
I think it was on the weekend.
Yeah, I think it was later, so. Either way, I think we got a good one today. The last couple I've really enjoyed. I really had a good time. I think they were quality.
As long as it's fun for us.
Yeah, I don't care about anybody else.
I don't give a fuck what you think.
Exactly.
Sit down.
None of you matter. It just, for us, I think it's
like
what matters.
therapy.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
Couples counseling. Not that we need it,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
our
We're the best.
relationship is perfect.
We're the best, and everybody else is terrible.
Great intro.
So let's just get right into it. You know what? I think we both...
Let's just get right into the explanation of what we do here.
Okay.
Which is each of us brings an interesting thing each week.
Story, topic, thing,
Thing.
discussion topic. And we hope it's funny. It usually is.
Yeah, we're hilarious.
Not to toot your own horn.
So strap in, my friends. Except when you talk about, murdering little kids.
I didn't do that this time. I went a
not-
complete opposite route today, which is
Right.
great.
That's not as fun.
No. I like talking. You know what?
Opposite route. What's the opposite of murdering children?
Not
Saving
murder-
children?
Maybe, we don't know. I think that it's nice to mix it up once in a while, right? You don't want to always talk about death and stuff, but I think that's interesting to talk about too. Like, we don't, as a society as a whole in North America, people don't talk about death.
I mean,
It's too
mine
morbid.
is kind of about death.
Oh, great. So thank you for taking the mantle.
Taking the reins on the
yeah.
whole death thing.
So why don't you go first? I'll go after you. I'll let you go first. What's your topic this week?
Okay, so I would like to call this, I don't actually know.
We'll think of a title shortly.
Voodoo or hoodoo.
Ooh.
Voodoo? Do-voo?
Doo-doo? Voodoo.
Yes.
All right.
And actually, also, Vodun.
Vodun?
Vodun? Vodun, Vodoon, Vodoo, Voodoo, with two different spellings as well.
What are those spellings for me?
V-
What's the etymology of that word, please? Could you use it in a sentence? No, just what's the actual spelling, please? Sorry.
Vodun, Vodun, Vodon, Vodun, Vodoun. This is not
Very confusing. Okay, so there's a few different spellings.
There's all sorts of different things.
Okay.
So, voodoo, right?
Yes.
Obviously, voodoo you've
Like
heard
hoodoo,
of.
voodoo.
And the practice of voodoo.
Yeah, witch magic, like witch doctor magic kind of thing.
Okay, well...
voodoo was based in Jamaica, I believe, right?
Okay, well...
In the Caribbean?
Do you want me to tell it,
No,
or do you
you're
want to
not
just
talking
guess?
today. You are a guest on my podcast. Welcome to the Justin Podcast.
Welcome to the singular soft brain. One brain cell over there.
Singular cell organism.
So basically, okay, so there's lots of misconceptions and misinformation out there about what voodoo is and about where it comes from. And, there is it's in lots of different cultures in a way. So yes, there is some ties to Jamaica and the Caribbean,
Right.
as well as Haiti. But I'm going to talk first about the original, where it originated, which was in Africa.
Of course.
And it's typically, we're talking about Vodun here first,
Right.
which is kind of generally viewed as kind of the oldest one.
Papa Voodoo.
Yeah, well, we'll get into Mama and Papa Voodoos, don't you worry. So this Vodun is traditionally practiced by the Fon people of Benin, which is a country in Africa, which I didn't know existed. Benin. Ever heard of it?
Does it still exist?
Yeah, it used to be called something else. I forget. It's in here somewhere. It used to be called something else, but now it's called Benin.
It is a country in West Africa. Very interesting.
So I apologize for being ignorant, but I had never heard of this country before.
I actually haven't either. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So also Togo, Ghana, and Nigeria is where you see Vodun. It centers around spirits and other elements of divine essence that govern the earth, which is not all that different from other religions.
It's a very natural religion.
And then they kind of have like a hierarchy of power.
Okay, so it's kind of between Togo and Benin are between Ghana and Nigeria.
That makes sense.
It's kind of on by the Ivory Coast there. All right, I got it. Continue.
Okay. So the Vodun are considered like the forces of nature and human society, and like the spirits. There's spirits in individual things like nature, streams, trees, and rocks, as well as there's different ethnicities of Vodun and defenders of certain clans, tribes, and nations. Whatever. The Voduns are like the center of this religion. It's like a
it's the
thing.
spirits?
It's like is the spirit, yes,
Okay.
but also is everything. It is
course.
the spirit and is everything. So there are actually some similarities between Vodun and Voodoo and hoodoo with Roman Catholics and Catholics in general. There are some things that are in common. One belief that they have in Vodun is that the spirits of the dead live side by side with people that are living. So spirits are like in the
like Coco.
world. Yes, well, sort of.
Great movie, by the way. If you haven't seen Coco, I definitely suggest it.
Yeah, so good.
Really good movie.
So good.
It was so beautiful. It was a really visually pleasing movie.
Yeah, I'm going to start putting my family pictures on the Ofrenda.
Yeah.
I don't have an Ofrenda, but I'm going to make one just so I can do it. Each family of spirits has their own female priesthood. So almost like in all of these, you'll see a theme that there's lots of females in power, or basically that have like deity, I guess. It's the female that's in a position of power.
Okay.
The divine creator of Vodun is called Mawu or Mahu, Mawumahu, and is a female being. She is an elder woman, and she's gentle and forgiving. She is seen as the god who owns all other gods. So,
all right, which god?
Title. Also, me.
Okay.
I am the god of
Sure.
all gods.
Why not? Let's play make believe today.
That's what it's all about. So people pray to her still like today, especially in times of distress. There's like some traditions that said she bore like 7 children that are basically gods of different kinds. So it's kind of like even like Greek mythology.
Right, how there's like Zeus.
Yes.
Would be
So
the
you
parent.
have like Vodun of the earth, you have Vodun of justice, Vodun of the sea.
Gotcha,
Vodun of fire
yeah.
and
God
war.
of war, so it's Vodun is kind of like God in a way.
Yeah, Vodun is everything.
Yeah.
Vodun is all.
Wow, man. Drinking the Kool-Aid here.
Converted.
You're really selling me on this voodoo.
Okay. Mawu is very convincing. Just wait, though.
Oh,
okay.
boy.
So, then we also have kind of the branch of Haitian voodoo. They believe in a god called Bondi, Bondye, or maybe it's Bondier. It could be a few different pronunciations.
Yeah.
Who's considered the good god and is responsible for creating the universe. But he's not actually involved. He like basically created the universe
And then put
fucked
his feet
off.
up.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, you guys are good now.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And like Iwa is IWA took over from there. And they're
He's got
like
a good gig.
they're like the Vodens of Haitian voodoo.
Okay.
So there's many different like working parts in this. Voodoo is not just like voodoo dolls, right?
No, of course.
Basically, in lots of this, there's lots of focus on like female and male, like duality.
Yin and yang.
Yes, like the moon and the sun. Like the moon is considered female, the sun is considered male. Mawu was the moon, and she's the female, and Lisa is the sun. It's a male. Confusing. Yes, I know.
Also, for an ancient religion, Lisa seems like an awfully weird name.
I know. Just their son's name is Dan. It's not a joke. Its actually name is Dan. Lisa is sometimes called Legba. Legba is represented as a phallus.
Oh, of course.
Literal, just a piece.
But she's female.
No, that's male.
Oh,
the moon is the female.
Right,
The
sorry.
sun, Lisa, is the male. Which, literally, they didn't get very creative with what he looks like. He is a penis.
He's just a giant ween.
Yes.
Okay.
Their son, Dan. Dan is their androgynous son who is represented as a rainbow serpent.
Okay.
I think I might know Dan. I think he was at Pride this year.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like, okay, so that's kind of the, yeah.
Jeffree Star.
Jeffree Star. That.
AKA Dan.
AKA Dan. Very creative name we have here. So basically, a lot of voodoo, I shouldn't call them all voodoo, but a lot of things within this category, they focus around like different types of sacred objects and talismans. So in Vodun, their talismans are called fetishes.
Right. Yes, I've heard that.
Yes. And they're usually statues or dried animal or human parts that are sold for their healing and spiritually rejuvenating properties. So specifically, they are objects that are supposedly inhabited by spirits. Okay. So basically, you own a spirit. So,
cool.
Yeah.
You've just got like a baseball bat and there's a spirit in your baseball bat?
Yeah, no, that's my grandpa in there.
My grandpa Dan.
Yeah, so they can apparently perform different tasks according to like where they are in their spirit development and different things like that. When they're combined together, it's considered a shrine. And there's like actual fetish markets that you can still go to in like West Africa. And they're called fetish markets.
So do they come preloaded with souls and spirits? Or do you have to load your own spirit into the item?
I don't know, actually. I'm pretty sure they're preloaded.
Okay.
Pre-spirited. Yeah.
Interesting question, though. Like, you have to think, where do they get all these spirits from?
Well, they come from your ancestors.
Okay.
Basically. Like, it's all about your ancestry and all this stuff.
Right.
So, speaking of, like, I don't know. We have, like, big part of this is the Queen Mother. Mm-hmm. She's the first daughter of the lineage of a family collective. So, again, it's all about ancestry. And she holds the right to lead, like, ceremonies, marriages, baptisms, funerals. And she's considered one of the most important members of the community.
We've been really
mother.
On the
queen,
the royal kick, yeah.
Well, she's not royalty.
No.
She's not even really a clergy. She just is.
Yeah, she just is king.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Often people confuse her with a high priestess, which she is not. They're basically responsible for running the fetish markets.
Okay.
So, like, you get a fetish, and you get a fetish.
Preloaded, again.
Preloaded fetish. Are no context.
Yeah. No kidding.
The high priestess, on the other hand, is someone who's chosen. The Queen Mother is born into that role.
Okay. Who chooses the high priestess?
Chosen by the oracle.
Ah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, a lot of these old religions are kind of like that, where there is an oracle, the all-seeing oracle that sits on top of the mountain and looks like a slimy ween.
And they go, you get a fetish. You get a fetish.
Right.
About 17% of the population of Benin follow Vodun, which is about 1.6 million people. I know, a lot more than I thought. A lot of people that refer to themselves as Christian in this area are not really, like, they are kind of within the Christian umbrella, but they follow a lot of the Vodun practices. Okay. So even though they say that they're Christian, like 40% of them say that they're Christian, they're kind of more on the Vodun side.
They play the line a little bit.
Or like they're within that umbrella.
Right.
In Togo, about half of the population practices indigenous religions, of which Vodun is the largest. Okay. So with about 2.5 million followers in Togo.
So it's pretty big.
It is
It's a really old religion or following, but it's still active.
Yes. So like it definitely, there's still like people that follow this on a daily basis. So Vodun is like kind of where the term voodoo comes from, and where we get kind of our modern like view of voodoo. It comes from Louisiana voodoo. Okay. So also known as New Orleans voodoo or
Nowlands.
Voodoo.
Nowlands.
Voodoo. Which, can you guess when Louisiana Voodoo would have came about?
I'm going to say it wasn't that old if it's Louisiana. It's got to be, I'm going to say, like early 1800s at the earliest.
Pretty close, early 1700s.
Okay. Oh, 100 years is, yeah. In the grand scheme of things, it's
In
not
the
that
grand
long.
scheme of world history, you're
Yeah.
pretty close. So basically, Voodoo became kind of a religion as a mixture of Catholicism, Francophone culture, Vaudin during the Atlantic slave trade.
Of course.
So, right, that's why.
And that's why it was brought over, because that's where it was the Ivory Coast kind of thing, right?
Right.
Okay.
So, Louisiana Voodoo is often confused with Haitian Voodoo and deep Southern hoodoo, which we'll talk a little bit more about at the end. Haitian Voodoo has like a whole history to it too, and
Of course,
like
yeah.
I don't have time to go into all of the branches of this, but
It's widespread.
yes. So Louisiana Voodoo, from 1719 to 1731, the majority of African captives that were being brought and enslaved in Louisiana were Fon people that are the people from Benin.
Okay.
And their knowledge of herbs, poisons, and ritual creations of like charms and amulets and talismans, fetishes, they made like to protect themselves or harm others. That became key elements in Louisiana Voodoo because of the people that came over.
It's really interesting how world religions that are these old world religions, so like voodoo, hoodoo, Native American, kind of like Mongolian tribes people, it's all that same, they all place value on kind of the same things, right?
Yeah, like certain possessions. And like a lot of focus on like cleansing and herbs and spirits and all those sort of things. Actually, a lot of the people from Benin that followed Vaudin were taken as slaves to the French colony of Saint Domingue,
Domingue, I believe.
yes, in the Caribbean Sea.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about Jamaica and stuff in the Caribbean, that's where there's some voodoo over there. So it's expected that Louisiana voodoo has existed since the early 1700s. In 1731 to 1732, the ratio of enslaved Africans to European settlers was more than 2 to 1. So there was way more Africans than European settlers at that time, which that helped like this religion and culture like maintain really well,
Right.
because there were so many people.
Well,
So-
and I guess when you're like, I was never a slave, so I wouldn't know, but
You weren't a slave?
I would imagine religion would play a big part into hope, right? And just being able to kind of make it
for
through
sure.
your day to day.
And if you think that you can like put a curse on your slave owner, then like why not put your
Right.
faith in that?
No, for sure.
12 years a soft brain.
25 years of soft brain so far.
So the practice of making like amulets and charms for protection was like something that came on very early on in Louisiana voodoo. The owenga is a charm used to poison an enemy, which contained toxic roots from a certain type of tree that was brought from Africa and preserved in Louisiana. So they brought like this toxic root and they were like, oh,
Let's keep this for a rainy day.
yeah, we're going to feed this to old Mr. Cotton.
Yeah,
See how he feels
jeez.
the next day.
So they didn't grow it in the States, it was just
No,
brought over.
it's preserved. Yeah.
Okay.
So they usually would combine this root with other elements like bones, nails, roots, holy water, holy candles, incense, bread, crucifixes.
Ah, yes.
And then they would have this ritual that frequently would evoke protection from Jehovah and Jesus Christ. So there are definitely like...
Protection from them.
Yes.
Okay.
So this like openness of their belief allowed for some Catholic practices to come into Louisiana voodoo. So it kind of has this mixture.
Which makes sense because it was very French.
Yes. Yes, so they have like French influence, Catholic influence.
I imagine
and,
Spanish.
all over, right?
Right.
West Africa, of course. Things for them started to become a bit more difficult after the Haitian Revolution because the slaves who were supposedly possessed by deities during voodoo rituals The French colonists didn't like that. So
who'd have thought?
Big surprise. So they became very aggressive towards them.
Yeah.
However, even though the Haitians often fought back, the Louisiana slaves often did not fight back. Instead, they would use these amulets and charms and kind of put their faith in that. After the Embargo Act, which ended all the importation of African slaves to the United States, voodoo queens started to become a lot more popular. They would draw crowds of like hundreds of thousands of people.
Hundreds of thousands?
Yes. Hundreds and thousands of people. And
hundreds and thousands, not hundreds of thousands.
Oh, no. Hundreds and thousands.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Hundreds and thousands. There wasn't even like 100,000 people back then. There was like 20 people around.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that makes way more sense now. All right.
That was like half the world.
Yeah, just standing on this huge, like the Oracle.
Hey, the voodoo queens had things to say, okay? And people came to listen. So they were considered practitioners, and they made a living selling and administrating amulets or gris-gris charms.
Gris-gris.
Gris-gris. Gris. Gris-gris. Gray. And they would guarantee that they could cure ailments, grant desires, and confound or destroy one's enemies. Their power and influence was very widespread.
Not only just confound them, but destroy them.
That's right.
That's
confound you and then destroy it.
That's quite the leap.
It's a two-step process.
Okay.
Gris-gris originated in Africa as well. Typically a voodoo amulet that is supposed to protect you from evil or brings you luck. Also used as a method of birth control in West Africa. Yeah. It's usually a small cloth bag, which is usually inscribed with verses from the Quran. I know, every religion is involved in this.
It's all, intertwined.
It's associated with Islamic traditions. I don't really know why. Maybe because of...
They liked it.
Yeah. So it came to the United States, obviously, with the slaves. But there was some type of transition when it came to Louisiana that it stopped being like as protection, and a lot of people thought of it that it was bringing black magic to the victim. So slaves would often use the gris-gris against their owners, and some can still be seen on like the tombs of slave owners where people said
they would put the whatever
black magic on them. And during this period, there were also some reports of slaves cutting, drowning, or manipulating the gris-gris of others in order to cause harm. So you're thinking about voodoo dolls and sticking pins in them.
Right, so that's kind of where it started at.
Right, so they would take these gris-gris and they would destroy it. So in the Cajun communities, it's generally considered to be a symbol of black magic and ill fortune.
Do you know where the word Cajun comes from?
No, I do not.
Comes from, originally, the people that were in Louisiana, especially the French, came from Acadia in Canada.
Yeah.
So they traveled down to Louisiana, and over time, Acadia turned to Cajun, just with the way that they spoke.
Yes, I have heard that before.
So you lied to me.
Well, I forgot.
Well, now you know.
Well, okay. So actually in the 1800s, gris-gris was used interchangeably to mean the word bewitch. So actually, in that time.
To put a spell, yeah.
Mm-hmm. According to a 1982 survey, relatively recently, gris-gris were one of the top 3 methods of contraception known to women in Senegal.
What?
I know. It's like birth control. But
yeah. They would kind of put not a spell, but they would bewitch a item thinking that it...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not using the item as birth control.
No, it's not like they stick their phallus in the sack.
Well, they do. Well, that's the whole point. But.
Well, okay. It's kind of gotten to a different place now, but it kind of was always used as birth control, but it's kind of a weird additional use.
Fertility, that's interesting because fertility is such a big thing in a lot of religions, right?
For sure. And
remaining fertile.
Yes. So these gris-gris were often distributed by these voodoo queens, okay? Going back to our voodoo queens. So there was one in particular around the 19th century, and her name was Marie Laveau. And she was known as the Voodoo Queen. Not just the Voodoo Queen. The Voodoo Queen.
Voodoo Queen. With 2 E's?
Sure.
Okay.
And there was a point where her religious rite in 1874 attracted 12,000 people in New Orleans.
That's a lot of people.
Yes.
Especially back then.
And not just black people, black and whites, politicians, lawyers, business people, all sorts of people came to ask her for advice before making like important decisions because they thought that basically
she had some power.
Right, that she was going to...
She was basically an oracle at that point, right?
Yes. Not a lot is known about her like personal life, but she was a third African, a third Native American, and white, and then something else.
Okay.
French, I guess. Probably
some
French.
More white.
Yeah. So she was kind of a little bit mix of everything. Her most influential and affluent customers were typically runaway slaves who credited her for their successful escapes.
Wow.
So they would say, like, it was all Laveau.
Right.
She charmed me into all my riches. She was Catholic, okay? So even though she did, like, voodoo stuff, she was a Catholic. And she encouraged followers to attend Mass, as well as take an amulet, go to Mass. Then you get all the good luck.
Then you get the 2 times, double down.
Yes, double down on religions. If I follow all the religions, I can't possibly
go to hell. Then you'd be really safe, yeah.
That's right. She has a very famous grave site that has a very weird kind of history. Her history has been kind of surrounded by like different stories and lore and stuff.
What was her name again? Sorry?
Marie Laveau. In 1982, the Misfits, you know the Misfits, right?
Yeah.
The punk rock group. They were arrested and accused of attempting to exhume Laveau from her grave after a local concert.
What?
Yeah. So weird.
What a weird bunch of people.
So they all got arrested.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Lots of tourists would visit her grave and draw X's on her grave because there was this rumor that if you drew an X, that it meant that you wanted Laveau to grant you a wish. And then
she died in like the 1880s. 1881.
Yeah, early
20th
century, I think. So they basically what they had to do, you have to draw an X on the tomb, turn around 3 times, knock on the tomb, yell out your wish, and then if it was granted, you come back and circle your X and leave her an offering.
Wow.
It's a very specific process. So you want to go there and that's what you got to do.
We're not advocating vandalism. Please do not vandalize anybody's gravesites.
Yeah, well, actually you can't go there anymore.
Okay.
So because in 2013, somebody vandalized her grave by painting over it with pink latex paint.
What a POS.
I know.
Why would you do that?
It was removed because they thought it would seal in moisture because it was latex.
Right.
So I think maybe somebody thought like she was a bad person or something. And so as of March 1st, 2015, there's no longer public access to where she's buried. You can go with a tour guide. So if you really wanted to go see it, you could go.
I was going to say, like, how do you block off a grave?
It's not just a grave. It's like a specific area of the cemetery that's blocked
okay.
off. So you can, though, if you want to leave an offering, you can go across the street and leave a pound cake. That's like the most common offering.
Mitchell, the local homeless man, picks it up and has dinner.
Hey, it's karma, man.
It's karma. That's true.
Go around.
And it doesn't matter who it's for. It's an offering, right?
Marie Laveau, gamblers often shout her name when throwing dice, and lots of people have said they've seen her ghost.
In the mirror? That's the whole Bloody Mary thing? You see
No.
Marie Laveau if you tap on the 3 times?
No, that's a different Mary.
Oh.
Also, guess when her birthday is?
September 10th.
September 10th. We have the same birthday, therefore
Wow.
I am
You
Marie
are the
Laveau.
reincarnation of the voodoo queen of Louisiana.
Louisiana. Well, my cousin, Andrew, calls me Voodoo Mama Juju.
Yes, that's true.
It's true.
Wow.
It's me.
So not only are you Princess Anastasia on one side, you're also Voodoo Mama Juju.
That's right. Okay, that's a whole nother story about how I'm Anastasia.
We'll get into it some other time.
So now, like in the early 1900s, voodoo went underground as New Orleans became increasingly popular. Voodoo was portrayed as being very exotic in like a film, and then there was a lot of misconception about it, a lot of wrong information about it.
And I mean, the punk scene got a hold of it, which is never good.
Right. And now it's a big part of New Orleans, like, tourist industry, which I guess is good in some ways, but some people really don't agree with it.
Right.
So a lot of things that people confuse with voodoo, sorry, this is going to get a little bit long here.
That's okay.
Is hoodoo. So hoodoo is not a religion. Hoodoo is magic, basically.
Like H-O-O-D-O?
Yes. So people often, like what you see in movies, like that's voodoo, is actually hoodoo and not voodoo. Like voodoo is a tradition, it's a religion, like it's actually a faith. Hoodoo is not a religion, it's just a like magic thing.
It's also a tall, thin spire of rock.
It is. I looked it up. There's hoodoos in Drumheller, Alberta.
Weird. Okay.
Yes. So the purpose of hoodoo is to allow people to access supernatural forces to improve their lives. So this involves like magic.
But so really in the same, it's not faith-based, it's magic-based then.
Right. It's similar to actually modern day Wiccan religions. Right. And they use a lot of herbs, minerals, parts of animal bodies. They use individual possessions, like voodoo dolls, bodily fluids, especially menstrual blood, urine, saliva, and semen.
Come back. Right. It's all come full circle.
Yes.
Gross.
If in the movie, the 2005 Hollywood hit Skeleton Key.
The Skeleton Key.
Which, that movie, I loved that movie when I was 12.
Is it an animated movie or?
No, it's like Naomi Watts or something is like the main person in it. It's like about, there's like somebody gets cursed or something by hoodoo or something.
Well, it's got a whole 38% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm sure it's rife with inaccuracies.
Oh, for sure.
Don't worry. So they do a lot of like cure-all stuff in hoodoo. The hoodoo doll is a form of gree-gree. Okay?
Right.
So it's like part of that. And they're actually usually used to bless and have no power to curse, usually. The purpose of sticking pins in the doll is not to cause pain, according to someone that's part of this hoodooism, but rather to pin a picture of a person or a name to the doll, which traditionally represents a spirit.
And then that spirit would inhabit.
Yeah, I guess. Item. So it's not actually...
So not preloaded.
Right. Not, well...
It's DLC.
Sometimes
DLC spirits.
So it's just basically a set of reliefs. There's no priest. There's no authority structure.
Right.
Candle magic is very popular, and also these things called mojo bags.
Ooh.
Which, they stole my mojo.
I was thinking of a Powerpuff Girl mojo with the monkey.
Mojo.
Yeah.
Also.
But
great
also
mojo. Which was very similar to Gree when it was like a little bag that would contain like roots, herbs, and spells and prayers. I would highly recommend... So I got down this hole today of looking at this website called theconjuredoctor.com, and it is a website where you can go and buy lots of these hoodoo things, and like still like you can get someone to do a root work consultation of you. So you can basically you can pay, and it's like $50, and this person will like cast a spell or like tell you what types of things you need to do in order to accomplish the thing that you want.
It's too spoopy for me, man.
Yeah. So it's Dr. E's products. I don't know.
I wouldn't trust it too much.
I highly recommend looking at this website though. Okay. It's really interesting to delve into it. So basically one of these two people that do these root work consultations, they'll start with an over-the-phone psychic tarot reading. And then from there, they'll put their root working talents to work, conjuring the hoodoo spell that's right for you. Quote.
Wow.
Or
good sales pitch.
Or they'll send you an item for you to use through the mail. Email readings are not available.
Wow. Okay.
So that can include candle magic, dolls, crossings or uncrossings, which that's like another word for curse.
Right. I cross you.
And it only covers one situation. You cannot do multiple situations. So
you have to pay another $50 for that.
Right.
That's very clear to me already.
That's right.
Yes.
So
I wasn't born yesterday. Come on, you can't fool me.
and a very popular one apparently is reconciliation spells, which is like
Getting back
together. So they say specifically, we will only perform reconciliation spell requests if there is open communication between the couple and where they have spent less than 6 months apart. There is no guarantee on the success of root work offered.
No kidding. Just throw that in there.
So your options are Mama E or Miss Madame T.
They don't even give you their real names? I wonder if there's a call center. I wonder if it's just a call center of people. Okay, too bad.
No, they're small. But you can buy like different products for different things, like love, money, luck, protection, blah blah blah. You can also take a magic bath, which
You take a bath on the internet?
okay, but no, not on the internet. You order the things. That's a whole nother website.
That's a different website.
Dr. E. You order this stuff and then you it's not a bath that you sit in. It's like you make a basin and then you dump it over your head. And they're supposed to like
a
shock
cleansing.
your system. Yeah.
Yeah.
And instantly changes your energetic vibrations.
Nah, I bet you'd be cold.
That's what Dr. E says. I bet you would.
Yeah, so you'd be vibrating at a different frequency for sure there.
Yeah. So they have like specific spell kits where it comes like all in one. So they have things like crossing spell kit, come to me spell kit, breakup spell kit, house cleansing spell kit.
Basic life functions spell kits.
All these different types of spell kits. And I will end here with a quote from the website. Command, compel, and dominate your target to do your wish with these powerful, commanding hoodoo products. Dr. E Products has a long history in root work for making people do what you want. Command your enemies to do your bidding, keep your mate under your thumb, or make your boss treat you like a king.
Why don't they just get a dog? That's effectively a pet.
Yeah,
Do my bidding.
You can buy dogs.
Dog, go get me the newspaper.
Yeah, I don't think that product is offered from Dr. E.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's voodoo and hoodoo and vodun and a little bit of everything.
I'd like to look more into that too.
It's like there is a lot of information about it that I did not expect.
It's a lot bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
But that's Hollywood for you, right? Poisoning our young minds.
Yeah, misinformation, like so much misinformation out there about this.
I was definitely misinformed.
Yeah, but I really look up ConjureDoctor.com.
I'm going to check that out.
Because it's very interesting, and I'm kind of curious, and I just want to like order a root work consultation to see what would happen.
See what happens, just for the fun of it.
Should we do a social experiment and order one?
Well, you always could, but...
You always could.
Yeah.
You always could in New Orleans.
I'm pretty sure that I am just as well trained, and I could do your root kit as well.
Louisiana, fast.
Yeah, hit me up. Soft brain root kit. I really like that. That was interesting. I'm going to check it out.
Now it's your turn.
It is my turn, and I do want to apologize to you in advance.
Why?
Because this was bound to happen. I thought it was going to take longer for me to get to this topic.
I know. Ask me.
What is it about?
Mushrooms.
At some point in our
It's about mushrooms! Fucking called it!
At some point in our podcast adventures, it was bound to happen.
Justin loves mushrooms.
I figured, you know what, we might as well get it out of the way, talk about it earlier on, just because it is a very interesting topic. It's not just mushrooms. They're fantastic organisms. I wanted to talk about it really early on. That way you didn't have to wait and kind of think about it. You didn't have to wake up in a cold sweat night after night. Oh, is he going to talk about it today?
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about in the middle of the night.
Well,
the mushrooms are like getting a little tired of you, but
no,
they're going to get like a restraining order. The mushrooms are like, what?
It's not just mushrooms that we're going to talk about, though. We're going to talk about fungi as well, or fungi. Either way, you can pronounce it.
Okay.
Either way. So I'm
I don't
sorry.
know if I'm going to be a very fun guy during this.
I can't continue.
Where's our snare drum?
Yeah, we still need. Yeah, we need to get a snare. Maybe we should get a little horn and just go. And whenever there's a stupid joke made, that was my horn impression. $9.99, and you can use that.
I hope your
whatever you
mushroom impression is better than your horn impression.
How do you impersonate a mushroom?
Okay, wait.
Spot on.
Like that.
Yeah, great. So, you know what? Now's as good as time. Episode 5. Let's discuss our little fungi friends. How many different species of mushrooms do you think there are in North America?
100,000 million.
Okay, so there's approximately 4,000 species of mammals in general, about 250,000 species of plants. There's around 350,000 species of beetles, which I thought I was going to do today.
Okay, wait. Tangent on beetles. Today when I left the gym, there was so many little black beetles.
Black beetles or grasshoppers?
Little tiny black beetles. And I mean like
somebody cursed
100.
Somebody cursed you.
It was Voodoo Mama Juju.
Yeah. That's what it was.
I don't want that on me.
So 350,000 types of beetles. That's an interesting fact in its own. It could be its own topic in the future.
Yeah,
Anybody listening, let me know, and I will talk about beetles.
Don't get him started on beetles.
Let me know, and you can subscribe to Beetle Facts.
Text 1212.
Please don't text me.
Please /help/please help.
Yes. So where do mushrooms fit in all that? So in North America, there's about 11,000 different species of mushrooms. That's just what we would call macrofungi. So that's basically everything that you can see, not the minuscule little things like tiny molds and stuff. That isn't counted in.
That's not considered. So is a macrofungi considered a mushroom? Or
Well,
is a mushroom
we'll
considered a macrofungi?
No, we'll get to that. So that's mushrooms that you can see with the naked eye.
Okay.
For comparison, in North America, there's about 200 species of birds. There's just short of 1,000 species of mammals. In North America. The largest field guides for North American mushrooms have almost 2,000 species fully listed. It's hard to list all of them because mushrooms, they vary so little and it's a different species that sometimes they're confused for each other.
They're all the same. Similar.
They're very similar. So it is pretty tough to properly identify how many different mushrooms are out there. Scientists estimate that only 5 to 10% of all mushrooms have been identified and named.
5 to 10%?
Yeah. That's of mushrooms, not fungi. So all mushrooms are part of fungi, but not all fungi are mushrooms.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah. So a mushroom, I'll get into that shortly of kind of what a mushroom is. Lots of mushrooms look alike. Much of the world is inaccessible, of course, so you can't check to see what kind of mushrooms are growing in Mount Doom.
Is there underwater mushrooms?
I imagine there might be. Because mushrooms
the ocean.
The ocean. Well, mushrooms tend to like moisture, right?
Yeah, and the ocean takes up such a big part of the earth.
It does.
So
I imagine there very well could be, and that's a big section that you wouldn't be able to access, right? So who knows what kind of fungus is down in the depths.
I'll tell you, it's not pretty down there.
No, that down below fungus is not something you want to come across. So the mushroom itself is the fruit of the fungus. Okay. So that would be so if you wanted to identify fungus based off of a mushroom, it would be like picking apples and oranges and trying to identify all the species of plants based off of the fruit. It's too hard to do because fruit only grows certain times a year. They require certain environments to grow. Mm-hmm. So you'll see a tree, but it might not have apples on it. Doesn't mean that it's not an apple tree.
Okay.
So just because you can't see the mushroom doesn't mean there's not fungus there.
Gotcha. It's
the fruiting body. So you're only seeing the fruiting body of the mushroom itself. Yes. That's sent up from the main body, and the mushroom itself releases spores to grow new fungus. That's how fungus.
Yeah, I played that game.
Yeah, spore.
Yeah. I'm an expert, don't worry.
The main body of a fungus is basically a mass that looks like a bunch of threads or roots.
Me.
Exactly like you. You're correct.
A mass.
You actually share the same name. It's called hyphae. Hyphae. It can be a single cell in thickness. So it can be super, super small.
Single cell?
A single cell. That's why fungus
That's
and fungi
small.
are so hard to find, right? Because they can be minuscule. They can also be big, but we'll get to that. I don't want to spoil it.
Oh boy.
So the hyphae, that's what... So say if a tree falls down in the forest, nobody hears it. But that's what...
Does a bear shit in the woods? Wait,
this one does.
That's not how it goes.
So the hyphae is what penetrates the wood of a fallen tree.
I'll penetrate the wood.
That's enough. I'm gonna
Come
put a
on!
hex on you.
No, don't curse me. No gree.
The hyphae secretes digestive enzymes that dissolve components of the wood, and then it absorbs it, and that's how that specific fungus would live.
Give me your nutrients.
Exactly. So not every fungus lives off wood, obviously, right? Like some you'll see on a wet basement wall. There'll be some on like dead animals and stuff. Some are on living trees. Some are symbiotic, and they'll grow alongside the tree, so they don't kill it or anything like that, or the plant.
You just want to be friends with it.
Exactly. They just want to share their
I don't
best
want to
beam.
steal your nutrients. I just want to sit next to them.
Exactly, and
Cuddle up next to your
it's
nutrients.
a symbiotic relationship because mushrooms break down stuff and turn it to like rot and everything, which we'll also get to, and then that's nutrients for the tree. So it's a beneficial arrangement, right?
They're part of the life cycle.
Yeah. So not all of them are also symbiotic. Some of them are parasitic. That's like, I don't know if you remember, but we saw lobster mushrooms on a hike a while back. So they're bright orange parasitic fungi that feed off the Racula family or Lactarius family of mushrooms. So those are like milky ink caps. I'm not too sure what's in the Racula family, but I think that's, it's a common mushroom. They take over the entire mushroom. Once they take it over, you can't identify what mushroom they took over.
Oh, so it's a mushroom on another mushroom.
It's a it's a fungus that takes over a fruiting body of another fungus.
Oh, okay.
So it takes it over. It's bright orange, like a lobster claw, like a cooked lobster. That's the same color. And they even tend to have a seafoody flavor. Some of them, when they're really advanced in their life cycle, they even smell seafoody.
What? Are they not toxic? People can eat them?
You can eat them. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's like most of the lobster mushrooms that we have in our area, you can eat. There's nothing wrong with them.
Interesting.
And I believe you can actually eat them if it's on a poisonous or toxic mushroom as well.
They're not toxic.
Correct.
Okay, well.
But please don't go out and eat mushrooms you can't identify. Buy yourself a field book or something.
Yeah, PSA.
Please don't die. We are not liable for anybody that decides to eat any orange mushrooms or any mushrooms.
Exactly. We're not liable for anybody who gets cursed or for anybody who dies from eating a bad mushroom.
Or curses mushrooms or mushroom curses.
Oh, this is the worst kind.
So mushrooms and fungi, they are everywhere. It's estimated that up to 30% of soil matter is comprised of fungus. So you pick up soil in your hand, 30% of it is fungus. That's an estimate. It varies. Ew. It's not gross, though. The oldest fossilized form of life that was found on land is actually a fungus as well. So it's about 440 million years old.
What? Say again?
440 million years old. That's how old this fossil is.
That's an old fossil.
Very old.
That's an old mushroom.
It's almost as old as me.
It's almost as old as the mushrooms you have in the fridge.
Those are mushroom. So we have, they're like little wood dowels that are coated in like mushroom spore.
Justin loves mushrooms.
I like mushrooms. I like to eat mushrooms. I think they're cool. But you drill a hole in a piece of wood and you put these little dowels in and then it sprouts mushrooms.
And they've been there for 500 million years.
So this specific fungus that we're talking about, the 440 million year old fungus, it's called a Tordotubus.
Me!
That's your new name.
You knew it was coming.
I did know it was coming. It made its way on land from oceans and seas way, way, way back when. Like this is one of the first things other than mosses and lichen that kind of came on to land.
Cool.
So it began to decompose material found on Earth. Not in the ocean, but found on Earth.
I'm going to decompose this, and I'm going to decompose this.
That's exactly what happened. So it paved the way for more complex life forms to exist on Earth. So it would go in and it would decompose different, like stuff found on like land. It would decompose it and eventually allow flowering plants and trees to exist.
So are you saying that we evolved from mushrooms?
Well,
Are you
I
saying
didn't talk about that, but there is actual theory that humans may have also come from a type of fungus.
So we are mushrooms.
We do share a lot of DNA with a lot of types of fungus. But that's hard to say, right? Because everything shares DNA.
Uh-huh. But we are fungus.
We are fungus. Well, you're fungus.
# we are fungus.
So these fossils specifically were found back in the 80s. They're what are called microfossils. They're really small, like they're smaller than a human hair.
What?
Scientists, remember that...
How did they find them?
Remember hyphae can be a single cell wide?
Yeah, but how do they find that stuff?
Exactly. I'm pretty sure they had just a really big magnifying glass. And it was just
really, really
Inspector Clouseau looking bastard walking through a field.
Oh, that's an old mushroom right there.
They actually originally thought that it was part of different organisms. So in fact, they ended up finding out that it was obviously a single organism. Specifically, that they were of mycelium, which are the tiny parts of fungi that can scrub nutrients from the soil. So it added things like nitrates and stuff to the soil, which gave the mud that was on Earth something to grow, like plants could grow in soil at that point.
Nitrate
Otherwise, they
is
couldn't.
like a huge nutrient.
Right. Neat stuff.
Neat nitrate.
So not only is the oldest fossilized land fossil found a fungus, but the actual largest organism in the world is a fungus too. It's not a blue whale.
It's me.
It is you. Oldest and most fungi looking.
It never gets old.
So out in Oregon, there's a fungus that covers 2,384 acres of land.
Excuse me?
That's about 1,665 football fields, or nearly 4 square miles, 10 square kilometers.
What?
It's a single organism.
What?
So its scientific name is Armillaria ostoye.
That place? Disney World.
Giant mushroom. It's estimated to be between 2,400 and 8,650 years old. It would make it one of the oldest living organisms as well. Living.
That's an old organism.
It's an old piece of fungi. It's old.
Not just a piece. It's got to be the whole thing, right?
Yeah, it's huge. But it is one single organism. So it's an individual specimen. He's an absolute unit. Scientists used DNA fingerprinting to determine where one specific individual fungus started and where it ended.
Where
so
is
they would
this
actually
thing?
in Oregon.
In Oregon, of course.
Everything weird happens in Oregon, between hipsters and whoever knows what else.
Portland.
You're right. So remember hyphae, those super thin filaments things, the main body?
I remember.
This species of fungus causes armillaria root disease, which kills huge patches of conifers in the US and Canada. So that's actually one way that meadows are made. So a fungus will take over the root system of trees in a certain area. It'll end up killing the trees, and that's how you get meadows and stuff in the middle of forests.
Ew.
Well, one of the ways anyways. So these hyphae, they get into the tree roots and they digest away and break down the wood. We took a drive recently to Maleb, Manitoba, where there's that that big statue of mushrooms.
Yeah, Justin loves mushrooms.
So one of the mushrooms was a honey mushroom, or for the Ukrainians out there, that's papanki mushroom. That itself is a type of armillaria. That's that same species of mushroom. It's a type of armillaria.
It's the same as the huge one in Oregon?
Yes, it might not be the same kind, but it's a type of honey mushroom. So fungi are old.
Mushroom. You're my honey mushroom.
I'm your honey mushroom, yeah. Thanks. I'm also a fun guy.
Okay.
It was had to come out at some point.
I already brought it out. Continue.
Fungi are old, fungi are big. Me. Normal humans enjoy the taste of mushrooms as well. So it really it's just.
Ooh, you just
I
segregated
called
our audience.
Very specific people that we know as well.
Yeah. Mushrooms.
You know who you are if you're listening.
Mushrooms are excellent.
Mushrooms are great, yeah. So it's actually also this is kind of debated, but mushrooms are very intelligent as well, like fungus. Japan is known for their efficiency of their rail system, right? Mm-hmm. It took a long time for engineers and everything to design their rail system because of how many cities it needed to make, to connect, rather. If they enlisted the help of slime mold, they may have been able to get it done quicker.
Slime mold?
Slime mold. It's a type of fungi, and it's actually a single cell big enough to be seen with the naked eye. So scientists placed oat flakes, those delicious old oat flakes, in a pattern that was the same as Japanese cities around Tokyo. The yellow slime mold, it was named Physarum polycephalum.
Yes.
Gross. It's a single cell, like again, big enough to be seen with the naked eye. The way that slime mold works is it surrounds a food source with its mold. Don't look at my pictures yet. And it creates tunnels afterwards to distribute the nutrients to the rest of the organism. So they placed the oat flakes down and then dropped in some slime mold. The mold spread evenly around the flakes. It kind of goes out like a wave or like a fire. Within hours, it starts to send out and refine tunnels and gets rid of other tunnels that have been made to get the nutrients to travel quicker.
So it becomes more efficient the bigger it gets.
Kind of, yeah. As it finds its food sources and it knows it has the energy to live off these food sources, it eliminates how it's expanding like a mushroom cloud and instead grows like a tree almost to connect the food sources to its main body.
Interesting.
So I do have just some pictures here for you. And what we're looking at is the actual slime mold process, as well as a map of Tokyo and the surrounding cities. So that's this here. This is Tokyo and the surrounding cities. Mm-hmm. This above it is the slime mold reaching out. So it started as this and then went from C, D, E, F and went down and refined where it went to. And once it was nearing the end phase at about 26 hours or so, it made additional connections to kind of set up these like freeways for nutrients. It's really cool. Like, when I said they're smart, they're actually smart. And there's a guy, we'll get to it. They're smart, fungus.
They're efficient.
They are efficient. And it's that, again, it's just a single cell. So they can kind of optimize on the go, even when, say, more food is introduced. So if you put in another bran flake further away, it will send out, it knows that it's out there, and it'll send out more feelers, expand, and then create another tunnel.
That's me with food too.
That is also
I know what's out there.
Mushrooms are us. We are mushrooms. It's really amazing stuff. So the research that they were doing on this, it allowed for creation of different math models to simulate that same system. They could use that math model for something simple like planning roads or railway systems and stuff like that. Or they could use it for more complex situations like disaster notification systems. So, say...
Not like the one that happened with the Hawaii thing, right?
Very similar to that, though.
But
no,
that,
not that.
But that wasn't a slime model because that one was stupid.
That guy was a single cell organism.
Yeah.
2 brain cells rubbing together. So say a disaster hits and destroys some sensors, like an earthquake, for example. The network would have to then reroute information quickly and efficiently. It's a decentralized, adaptable network, and it could be used in military planning as well, say for like offensive or defensive maneuvers and tactics, or finding out how blood vessels grow to support tumors. So the way a tumor works, the blood vessel network behaves the same way as the slime mold. it starts out as a dense entanglement kind of around the source. Then it refines the connections to be more efficient over time.
Well, wouldn't a tumor kind of be like considered as like a fungus in a way?
No, I don't think a tumor is a fungus.
Okay.
I'm just you don't have fungus inside. Like if you have cancer, it's not fungus.
Not like fungus, but like if it behaves the same way.
No, it doesn't. Its blood vessel system does.
Oh, okay.
So it starts out nice and dense, and then it expands out and then refines like a tree kind of thing. Of course, though, mushrooms and fungi can also kill you. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to talk about that. I talked too much about the dead stuff. You did a little bit today, but I figured, you know what, let's not even touch the poisonous or toxic stuff. Great news. We'll keep it nice and light and fluffy today. Lastly, though, I kind of wanted to talk about another scientific part of mushrooms and fungus, which is the psilocybin mushroom. Magic mushrooms. So mushrooms that contain psychedelic compounds like psilocybin, psilocin, and baeocystin.
Yes.
Those old chestnuts.
Shrooms.
Well, yeah, people call them shrooms, and a lot of people don't like that in the medical community because it downplays the effectiveness of psilocybin.
Sorry, medical community.
It's like calling medical marijuana sticky icky. Like it detracts from...
But it is sticky.
Exactly. It detracts from its better purpose.
Not for me.
Humans have used psychedelic mushrooms for millennia. So there's rock art in Spain showing possible religious rituals from over 6,000 years ago. Algerian caves have art on the walls that show mushroom use from 7,000 to 9,000 years ago.
I wonder if they use them in voodoo.
They probably did.
Voodoo mother. What
exactly.
do you know?
Everybody's connected, and all mushrooms are connected, and we're all mushrooms.
And we are mushrooms, so...
We've come full circle, but they don't use it as birth control, unfortunately.
Oh. Unfortunately?
Or fortunately.
I think fortunately.
I think not using fungus as birth control is a great idea.
Yeah. Also, don't use leather bags either.
Yes. Little satchels.
Yeah.
But what if they're filled with mushrooms? Does that work?
I'm going to go with a no.
Resounding no. She gave me the weirdest look. So there is also much less accepted and controversial stoned ape theory. I think I talked to you about it before, actually.
Stoned ape theory. Yes, you talked about this on the hike.
Yeah, I did, on that hike. So it's basically, for those of you that don't know, it's basically stating that Homo erectus evolved to Homo sapiens largely due to their encounters with these psilocybin mushrooms. As human cultural evolution led to the domestication of like wild cattle and stuff, humans began to spend more and more time around cattle because psilocybin mushrooms, commonly grown cow poop,
yes,
they would come across these mushrooms and they would eat them and expand their minds.
Hey, cow poop mushrooms.
Hey,
dude, you want to expand your mind?
Yeah, could you imagine the first homunculus looking dude? They just points at and it gets Dan to try it, kind of thing.
Dan.
It's outlandish, this theory. Paul Stamets, he's a super popular mycologist. He was actually on the Joe Rogan Experience a while back. It's a fantastic episode if you want to listen to it. It's really good.
Is that the mushroom guy?
That's the mushroom guy. He was wearing a hat made out of a single mushroom. It was really cool.
Was it cool?
It wasn't cool. Cool's not the word. I'm pretty sure people are going to find me and beat me up.
hey, you're that mushroom kid.
Yeah. So he pointed out that around 200,000 years ago, the size of the human brain spontaneously doubled. Not spontaneous, but suddenly doubled. It's a huge claim to make that there's a connection between the two, like stoned ape theory and the human brain doubling in size.
Capacity.
Yeah,
yes.
It got a lot bigger.
I love stuff about human evolution. We should talk more about that.
We should. Maybe that'll be a future topic. Mm-hmm. There is some science to back it up. So
even though it's considered quite outlandish, there is some stuff that's...
It's outlandish because could you imagine that humans became humans because we ate some cow shit mushrooms?
I mean...
you know what I mean?
Not that
the magic bush kind of thing. There's some more outlandish things that have been said about the creation of people. So really, yeah, you're right. Is it that outlandish?
Yeah.
So a while ago, there was a banker and self-proclaimed mushroom enthusiast by the name of R. Gordon Wasson.
Is this really you?
That's not me. No, not me. He found a tribe using psychedelic mushrooms in Mexico while he was on vacation with his family. He took some and he sent a sample to a guy named Albert Hofmann, who was the Swiss chemist who synthesized LSD.
Okay.
Hofmann isolated the psilocybin and made pills to be used in research and studies and stuff. It was then used in studies for a couple decades as treatment for like alcoholism, schizophrenia, autism, OCD, depression, all the way up until about 1968 when magic mushrooms were made illegal.
But what did it do? Like, does it just stimulate certain parts of the brain?
So psilocybin activates the brain receptors for serotonin, which is like the happiness hormone. A recent study, one of them, yeah. A recent study had taken individuals with treatment-resistant or severe depression. They received one 10 milligram dose of psilocybin, another dose of 25 milligrams a week later. Participants were also asked to fill in like a questionnaire where they reported their experience. All 19 patients showed significantly decreased depressive symptoms within 1 week after treatment. After 5 weeks, 12 of the 19 patients showed lasting benefits and were therefore deemed to be responsive to treatment.
Self-reported or?
Self-reported.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to put non-self-reported stuff for depression, I think, because it would be hard to measure that.
It is.
It's not really quantifiable.
Well.
The theory, though, like you asked how, the theory is that the brain's neural networks are being picked apart and basically put back together again during treatment. It's kind of like a reset mechanism. A lot of the patients actually said it was kind of like being rebooted or like they had their hard drive defragmented. Those are what they
That's what they said?
They likened. That's exactly what they said. They likened it to
Dude,
not anymore.
I feel like I'm having my hard drive defragmented.
They didn't just give these were guided sessions, right? They weren't just go home with mushrooms.
I'm just joshing. I get it. I see the validity.
Yeah, like during actual MRI scans, your brain is essentially hyper-connected when they were doing these treatments. Communication would occur in different parts of the brain that normally you don't see connections and synapses firing between. So it kind of rewires your brain, and different sections of your brain talk to each other.
So has this been used on like dementia or Alzheimer's patients? Because isn't that the problem with Alzheimer's, that your synapses start
I think so. And weirdly enough, I was reading a thing about how the herpes virus might be linked to dementia, I believe, as well.
Really?
Don't quote me on that. I didn't do enough research on it. It was a headline that I read, and I did not read the article.
So really don't quote him on that.
Minimal connection. But another psychedelic being used to treat the mind is MDMA. It's the ingredient that is in ecstasy and Molly. It's not ecstasy and Molly, but it's one of the ingredients. I forget. It's a big, long chemical name.
Yes. MDMA is good.
Yes. So in conjunction...
Not good as in, like, do it. I mean good as in good acronym.
That's the thing.
Don't get concerned, Mom. I'm not doing MDMA.
In conjunction with psychotherapy, it's been shown that it can actually help people overcome PTSD and other disorders, such as social anxiety, autism. It also helps people come to terms with death when they're suffering from life-threatening illnesses. So say if you have stage 4 cancer and you're going to die, a lot of people have showed vast improvements in mental state after using MDMA, and it allows them to come to acceptance with human death and mortality. The FDA has given MDMA a therapy designation, and studies are now in phase 3 trials. So phase 3 basically tries to find out whether the treatment is better, as good as, or worse than the standard treatment currently being used. That includes like quality of life as well as survival. It's as well as comparing side effects from the treatment compared to the standard treatment offered.
Yeah, but the health industry is so corrupt.
Oh, but wait. So this is when double-blind studies occur, and one group gets the new treatment, one group gets the standard treatment currently being used. And that's kind of the basis of all science is double-blind studies, right? That's where
they don't know, and the researchers don't know.
Exactly. So there's one study that was being done. 72% currently of veterans who get psychotherapy without MDMA end up retaining their PSD diagnosis and drop out of treatment programs. So it's got a 28% success rate of psychotherapy, just therapy in general, no MDMA. Mm-hmm. A specific study had 26 participants who would receive a course of treatment, which was 13 hours of non-drug therapy. So it's not like they're just amping you up on MDMA. They're doing non-drug psychoactive therapy, plus 2 8-hour sessions of MDMA-assisted therapy. They were randomly assigned to receive MDMA in one dose of either 30, 75, or 125 milligrams. So they had varying doses as well. And they used the same dose across the 2 sessions, the 2 8-hour sessions. So in total, that's 8, 16, so 29 hours of therapy. 16 of which are assisted by MDMA.
Gotcha.
1 month after the last MDMA session, 68% of patients in the high dose groups no longer had a PTSD diagnosis at all, period.
After a month?
1 month after. So quick. Same was true for 29% of the patients in the lowest dose group. So it does show an improvement regardless of
for
dose.
How many?
But 29% of patients 29%. In the lowest dose group. Okay. So for the 30 milligram dose. Mm-hmm. 68% for the 125 milligram.
Yeah.
1 year later, 67% of all participants, regardless of dose, no longer qualified for a diagnosis of PTSD. So that's compared, so 68% of people were 67% were effectively cured, whereas currently 72% of veterans drop out of psychotherapy and remain in PTSD.
Well, that's
it
interesting.
Seems to work.
Well, that's interesting, but it's only 26 participants of
Correct.
one study.
You would have to expand that, right? Those participants who still met the criteria for PTSD experienced a reduction in symptoms still. So it did seem to help everybody across the board.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that, and now that I guess it's more and more accepted, especially like magic mushrooms are looking in California, they may be legalized as a recreational drug. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I think I lost some of the connection here. MDMA comes from...
It doesn't come from mushrooms.
It doesn't come from mushrooms.
No. It is just...
It's a synthetic drug?
I believe so. And it's just connected because it is a psychedelic drug.
Right.
Just like psilocybin. So we got off the train of mushrooms a little bit. Okay. But I thought, it's kind of in the same vein. It would be interesting to talk about. Mushrooms, though, they're tied for the lowest danger to humans alongside marijuana. There is no real...
drugs go?
As far as drugs go, right. So there is no real lethal dose of marijuana, and the same thing goes for magic mushrooms and psilocybin. Mm-hmm. It's they are the lowest of low. There is very little harm. But in saying that, there are people that have, say if you go into things having certain mental issues, especially with anxiety, it can make that issue worse.
Well,
it depends on the trip that they use, and if it's not guided, and if it's a bad trip, quote
you need
unquote.
like a controlled environment.
Correct, and that's what these all are. Is they've been doing it in controlled environments with somebody guiding them through it.
Well, of course,
you along have with therapy
in this type of study, because or else it would be endangering the participants.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're a long ways away from stuff like that being completely legalized, but
the research is being done, which is interesting.
It is, yeah.
I'd be curious to see like statistics of like a country like Portugal. It's Portugal, right? Where all drugs are decriminalized.
But that's decriminalized, not necessarily legal.
Yeah, but
that's like I think it's either New Mexico or Arizona. Magic mushrooms are not illegal, but they're still illegal on a national scale.
Is there any places in the world where psychedelic mushrooms are legal?
I'm pretty sure like you can get it in Amsterdam and stuff.
You
just
think?
Fine. Yeah.
Like legal.
Yeah.
Like recreationally legal.
Yeah, I would imagine so 100%.
Yeah.
Because a lot of drugs are legal.
No, well, anything flies in Amsterdam, though.
Well, exactly.
You can do whatever the hell you want over there.
But it's an interesting thing, like, and that's just kind of the surface of mushrooms and their uses.
Just the cap.
Then to cap it all off.
Is that the horn? What was the horn noise?
I don't quite remember. We need a proper. I think was the horn.
That's better.
We need a soundboard, I guess, at this point.
We do. We need a soundboard for specifically one just for farts, and then another one for every other sound.
Yeah. But that's mine for today. I really enjoyed both of those. That was good.
It's interesting that yours is mushrooms and mine was kind of like there's some herbs and medicinal stuff.
Herbs. Yeah, medicinal.
Herbs.
They're both kind of connected, right? And they very well could have used mushrooms in, whether it was like to eat mushrooms in their religion. Like mushrooms are found in a lot of different cultures because they're everywhere.
Well, mushrooms are everywhere, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So.
That is interesting. I want to eat some mushrooms in Neptune now.
Oh, yes. In those little stupid containers that they serve them to you in, and yet they like...
Aren't those escargot?
Maybe, but it's still mushrooms.
But is there a specific one for mushrooms Neptune and a specific one for snails?
I'm pretty sure they use the same one. I'm pretty sure they use the same one.
Can you imagine? Sure. This is my mushroom Neptune tray, and this is my escargot
How bougie
tray.
can you be?
Do not get them confused. Honey, you put mushrooms and Neptune in the escargot tray.
Okay, Babs. Well, thanks for joining us today. I hope you had a good time. We had a good time.
Yeah, I hope that your brain is
good and
sufficiently soft.
Massaged it soft.
Or maybe we made it a little bit more firm today.
Yeah, this was a little bit of a tougher one.
Maybe you let us know how you're feeling.
Yeah, we would appreciate some feedback, so feel free to comment, let us know how we're doing and what you would like to hear about. Otherwise, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
This is the Softbrains, and stay sufficiently soft.
Signing off.
Bye.
Bye.